Traders! Stop drinking eggnog and attempting to trade on your smartphone. Bitcoin looks slow right now. Price is choppy. Momentum feels weak. And a lot of people are starting to doubt this move. But when you step back and actually look at structure, momentum, and liquidity, this doesn't look like weakness. It looks like a market taking its time before the next expansion. Before we get into the charts though, you need to understand what's happening on the macro side. Let's go! Let's start with something most people are totally missing. Bitcoin reserves have been growing aggressively. They now stand at 34,055 Bitcoin, worth roughly $3 billion. And that's up 114% year over year. That tells us long-term holders aren't dumping here. They're accumulating inventory during this consolidation. Next, zoom out globally. The IMF just confirmed that Bitcoin talks with El Salvador will continue as the country's economy is growing faster than expected. GDP growth is projected at 4% this year, with very strong prospects going into the next year. That's Bitcoin being considered at the sovereign level, not as risk, but alongside economic growth. Screw Jersey, I'm moving to El Salvador. The weather's nicer, the girls are prettier, I could spend my Bitcoin there, and I can even practice my Spanish. Mi amor, quiero verte su nalgas. Ahora mismo. Ay, papi. And then there's this. Institutions continue to increase exposure. Royal Bank of Canada, a $1 trillion financial institution, Mr. Powers, just bought 1.37 million shares of Strategy. Worth roughly $233 million. That's Bitcoin exposure through balance sheet allocation, and it's happening quietly while price moves sideways. Good move by the Bank of Canada, because now I can afford to pay my rent. So when you combine rising Bitcoin reserves, sovereign level Bitcoin engagement, and major banks increasing exposure, this doesn't line up with a bearish regime. It lines up with accumulation during patience testing price action. Now, let's look at the charts. Starting with the monthly chart, Bitcoin is getting clear support from the Bollinger Band, as you can see right here. And importantly, monthly RSI has not persisted further yet. That matters. When monthly RSI is still developing, it tells us the trend isn't exhausted. It still has room to develop. This is not a trend-changing top. This is a market still developing momentum. On the weekly, the breakout has occurred. Check that out. What we're seeing now is further consolidation after that breakout. This is exactly where most people lose patience. But strong trends don't move in straight lines. They break out, pause, frustrate, and then continue. There's still a scenario where price pulls back into the weekly order block. That would not be bearish. That would be similar to manipulation or noise, not persistent weakness, which usually comes before a move into demand followed by a continuation higher. Know your levels and be prepared. On the daily, Bitcoin has taken liquidity from this recent trend line. After that sweep, price is now sitting on a major daily support level. Liquidity has been cleared. Now price is reacting. That is how continuation setups usually form. The type of continuation you want to see: double bottom, failed low, followed by some type of price action confirmation, and that's where you can anticipate a leg like this. Again, it's about being prepared for the possibility of the move, not expecting the move outright. If the market does not confirm, you simply step aside. The market speaks, we listen. On the 4-hour, structure is still intact. Check this out. Price is still maintaining this trend line. Even if it breaks, there's strong support precisely below. Risk is clearly defined here. Risk is controlled. When it comes to trend lines, remember, they serve as a visual reference for traders. The market doesn't actually see the trend line. What the market respects are these previous levels where price action transacted. That is where price is reacting. Now, the trend line helps us connect these areas and helps us recognize where these inflection points can be. This, in turn, allows us to anticipate certain types of price behavior at levels. So, for example, if price breaks this trend line, that's not really that big of a deal. If it clears this support area right here where price actually transacted inside of the order block, that's where the balance changes, because what happens there is the people that are typically long, the population that is long, gets stuck in a position. And when the market comes back up into that area, it acts as a resistance because those longs are happy to get out for break even. Having a good grasp of order flow concepts helps you anticipate these types of moves. On the 2-hour, liquidity has been removed. Check this out right here. This is important because liquidity is usually removed before trend continues, not after. The question now isn't whether liquidity is there, it's where price wants to go next. When it comes to liquidity, the concept of liquidity, in this case, there are orders typically sitting below the market to go short. These would be stop orders, right? The market then goes below these orders. It taps them into the market. You now have a population of shorts that continues to grow. But since the market is generally bullish, it's generally strong, those orders are being absorbed by a larger group of buying activity. So those shorts essentially become the fuel to drive this market higher once the buying overwhelms them. These are concepts of order flow, and when you understand these concepts, moves like this make a lot more sense, and you're better able to anticipate them rather than react to them. That's what you have to do in these types of situations. Anticipate, not react. Now, let's look at Ethereum. On the daily chart, Ethereum is now slightly below the $3,000 key level. That's weighing on sentiment a bit, but structurally, this looks like a pullback into support, not a trend reversal. Clearly, the double bottom is still intact. You have a pin bar here, which could be a potential higher low, and this support block slightly below is likely to see another higher low or potential double bottom pattern. Watch for confirmations. On the 4-hour, Ethereum is retesting the trend line. Check this out right here. This is healthy price action. If this level holds, Ethereum keeps its bullish structure intact and sets up for continuation. Also, I have to point out, this is a higher low, and usually what follows higher lows are higher highs. And when you put it all together, here's what it looks like. Bitcoin, monthly Bollinger Band support, monthly RSI still developing, weekly breakout followed by consolidation, possible manipulation into the weekly order block, daily support after a liquidity sweep, 4-hour structure being maintained, 2-hour liquidity has been removed now. Ethereum, daily pullback below 3,000 into support, 4-hour trendline retest in progress. And on the macro side, Bitcoin reserves rising, sovereign level Bitcoin adoption progressing, major banks increasing relevant exposure. This doesn't look like a market held back by weakness. It looks like time being used instead of price. If you want to trade these levels yourself, I left my exchange links in the description. BTCC and WEX. Use them only if they help. They support the channel and give you access to the same tools. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your 2 cents. Do it. Do it now. Strong trends don't rush. They frustrate first, test your patience, and then reward your ability to wait. Price is maintaining structure, liquidity has been cleared, and the bigger players are still positioning. I'll see you in the next one.